trapped, alone, isolated. As Joseph was sitting in a prison cell, he had plenty of time to think about these questions. How did I get here? What did I do? How long will this last? And with the time that he had, he probably also asked the biggest question of all: where is God? But in the midst of all of this, God once again showed that he is in charge of everything.
But the Lord was with Joseph and extended kindness to him and gave him favor in the sight of the chief jailer. The chief jailer committed to Joseph's charge all the prisoners who were in the jail, so that whatever was done there, he was responsible for it. The chief jailer did not supervise anything under Joseph's charge because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made to prosper.
There's that phrase again. The Lord was with Joseph. It was a long time ago that he had been the favored son of his father. Since then, his brothers had almost killed him. He was sold as a slave and taken to a foreign country, and now he was in jail for a crime he didn't commit. But through all of this, and in spite of all of this, God was with Joseph. In jail, Joseph became known as the one who could interpret dreams. This happened twice with Pharaoh's servants. 2 years later, Pharaoh himself had a dream that no one could understand. One of his servants, Joseph's former cellmate, remembered that Joseph could interpret dreams. He was taken before Pharaoh, and upon interpreting the dreams correctly, Joseph was made second in command in Egypt.
So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has informed you of all this, there is no one so discerning and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and according to your command all my people shall do homage. Only in the throne I will be greater than you."
Think about where Joseph has been. Near death, slavery, jail, and now in the king's court. And what's the one thing that is consistent through all of this? The Lord was with Joseph. Never underestimate what the power and presence of God can do in your life. Joseph's interpretation of Pharaoh's dreams set into motion a series of events that clearly show us the sovereign hand of God. The dreams were a message to the people that there would be 7 years of bountiful harvests, followed by 7 years of devastating famine. Joseph would be responsible to manage the bumper crop so that in the unproductive years, there would be food for people. After the years of the great harvests, the famine came over the land. So severe was this famine that it impacted the entire area, including the land of Canaan, where Joseph's family was. Jacob sent his other sons, Joseph's brothers, to the land of Egypt to buy food. And incredibly, the ones who were once poised to take the life of their brother were now dependent upon him for their very survival. When they arrived in Egypt, Joseph immediately recognized his brothers, but they did not realize who he was. In their wildest dreams, they could not even imagine what would soon take place. But if you remember, it was the very wild dreams of Joseph that predicted this is exactly what would happen. After a couple of round trips between Egypt and Canaan, Joseph finally makes himself known to his brothers.
Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Please come closer to me." And they came closer. And he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life."
Joseph went on to explain that they were only 2 years into a 7-year famine. Joseph realized that God had sent him ahead of the group so they would be provided for in the land of Egypt. There, Jacob and his entire family would come to flourish and grow into a powerful nation. 17 years later, Jacob died. After the death of Jacob, Joseph's brothers became concerned that perhaps now he would seek revenge for the way they had wronged him all those years earlier. Maybe he was only waiting for the death of his father to take action. But Joseph clearly realized there was more going on than they could see. He knew that they were part of a bigger story.
But Joseph said to them, "Do not be afraid, for am I in God's place? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring about this present result, to preserve many people alive. So therefore do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones." So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them.
Trapped, alone, isolated? What are you thinking? How did I get here? What did I do? How long will this last? There are seasons in life where we have time to think deeply about these questions. We also ask the biggest question of all: where is God? The story of Joseph is an amazing one. Joseph shows us what it looks like to remain faithful to God even in the midst of difficulties. And even more than this, we see the sovereign hand of God living out the pages of the story every day.